What's up, everybody? It's your friend Isaac from Big Bike BMX, and today we're back with another episode that's completely different than anything that we've done before. You're not going to see Craig in this one. Craig was away on vacation with his wife for this weekend when we filmed this, so this is going to be myself, Shaun from PhoenixBikeCompany, and Matt Coplon from Profile. Now, this isn't just a profile interview where we're like, hey, tell me how you started, tell me all about your CNC equipment. It's not. What this is how to buy profile parts, because I've always heard how great profile parts were. I was never someone that went out and bought profile parts or anything like that. But I do love quality, and I do love good engineering. And here's the thing. When I was a kid, I bought some Redline flight cranks. I tell the story all the time. Bought some flight cranks that were way expensive, especially for a kid. But I rode those cranks for 10 odd years, never rode anything else. Why would I? They were perfect. So I learned at a young age how important it is to invest in something that's going to last a long time. My bikes aren't show bikes. I'm not trying to impress anybody with how they look. I am trying to ride them and have fun. So know that that's the barometer. I don't care if you build bikes and hang them on walls. That's up to you. Have fun with that, man. Enjoy it. As long as you're having fun on a bike, there's a lot of worse things you can spend your money on and your time. But that's not me. I want to get the most performance out of my bikes. I don't care if they match. I don't care about any of that stuff. So for me, it's more of I want to buy a pair of hubs that I can use forever. I just have a problem because I have so many different size bikes from SE. I only have SE bikes. So this episode is going to be all about how to find specific sizes and things from the SE website, going to Profile, matching up with the correct product that I'm looking for, and then purchase what all the different options when you're purchasing are. And then I bought from PhoenixBikeCompany. So again, work with your bike shops, work with your local shops, because they know your bikes. They work on a lot of SE, Throne, GT, Haro, all the big bikes. Your local bike shop that you bought your bike from knows how they work. They know the sizes. And if you tell them, hey, I want to get a profile hub, odds are they're going to know which ones are going to fit your particular bike, or they can find out for you and help you along the process so you don't buy the wrong stuff. So don't overbuy, don't underbuy, buy for what you need. It's a tool and what you want to accomplish. I know I wanted some cranks and I want a Z coaster because we recently we're talking to Chad DeGroot, and he was talking about the free coaster and how great it would be. And I think it's a great idea to be able to disengage a free wheel on a straightaway or a downhill, and then engage again and still pedal, use less energy during a ride out, and you could ride farther. I think that's fantastic. I think it's interesting. I want to play around with that. Plus, I've never had a free coaster hub. So anyway, enjoy this episode. Sit back, relax. Thank you again to Shaun from PhoenixBikeCompany, Matt Coplon from Profile Racing. And this is how to research the parts you want from Profile. Look up your bikes and things on SEbikes.com, and then use your local bike shop to buy some parts. So thanks for watching. Check this out. We'll talk to you soon. What's up, everybody? It's your friend Isaac, and welcome back to the Big Bike BMX podcast. I'm here with my ride or die friend today, my lucky tech friend, and also runs the bike shop that I hang out at, Shaun. Shaun, what's going on, buddy?
What up, guys?
I forgot to say Shaun from PhoenixBikeCompany in downtown Phoenix. Shaun, thanks for joining me on a Sunday morning. It's rainy outside. Shout out to Cactus Cruisers on their ride out right now. That is, they're sitting under a bridge. I just saw that they are riding somewhere in Phoenix down by the 202 freeway, under the freeway, because it's raining. So shout out to Cactus Cruisers. All right, Shaun, you have been on my ass, dude, for as long as I've known you, 2 years, to upgrade specific parts on my bike. Do you want to talk about what parts you're always writing me about?
Brand wise or certain ones? Because we can go both ways.
Okay, so you guys, Shaun is always giving me a hard time about hubs all the time on every single bike that I have. Shaun's like, I'll ride a bike and I'll tell him, dude, you did such a great job. Thank you so much. And he says, you haven't seen what I can really do until you put what parts, Shaun?
Profile.
There we go. I never hear the end of it. And you guys, Shaun's wearing his profile hat. You guys, I've grown up, and if you followed this podcast for the last 2 years, you know that I believe in stock parts. I really do not, I'm like, wear out your parts and then upgrade. A lot of people, since the dawn of time with BMX that I remember, what we would do is we buy a bike and then we upgrade all the parts. And then we're like, I have my bike. I present to you my bike check, right? And this is what we would do, right? As kids, here's my new bike. Okay, cool. So my train of thought has always been, because I grew up super poor, to buy, ride your bikes and upgrade what wears out. As your skills improve, as your skills improve, especially in, say, bike life with wheelies or jumping or whatever, you will start to wear out parts that you realize were not designed for what exactly the way you ride your bike. And everybody will be different. Everyone learns a little bit different in the way that they treat their parts. So I was never a big, like, hubs are huge. And Shaun, over the last 2 years, has let me ride his bikes that he has built. There's a famous bike that he has built and put together called the Phoenix Ripper. Now, that Phoenix Ripper is dialed. You can drop it and it just goes boom, boom, boom. It makes that bubbly kind of air sound when you drop his bike. It doesn't make any metal noises.
Sounds like a basketball.
That's it, dude. Yeah, I said air noise. Yeah. Who doesn't play sports? The guy that says it makes an air noise. And Shaun's like, you mean a basketball? Yeah, dude, that sound. So anyway, Shaun's bike makes a basketball sound when you drop it.
I don't play sports either, though. Just FYI.
Well, fair enough. So, you guys, and then I've ridden this bike, and it sounds so great when he's riding beside you. Besides the fact that you can't talk to one another because his cassette is so loud, but it does sound so dialed and strong, and it does. I definitely have I've been converted at this point, we'll say.
I wore you down.
You have. And here's what it is, you guys. If you've watched me do wheelies, I do a lot of half crank, quarter crank, and I like to coast. And so I have gotten to the point where I'm like, yeah, dude, engagement is important to me. Engagement means, you guys, when you're learning to wheelie, if you pedal and your cranks move forward, before you feel the wheel engage or your chain get taut and then you move, that is engagement. And the more engagement, the more precision you have over your torque. And there are times when just a little bit of a nudge will keep your wheel up. And if you don't have the correct part and you have some slack, your wheel will fall down and you won't have as long as a wheelie. So now we're talking about performance. So that gets my ears ringing, and I'm like, okay, Shaun, performance makes sense. And then I came in because I talked to you after seeing R.L. Osborne, Hall of Famer and legend, founder of modern or the original Flatland, right? BMX Action Trick Team.
Yeah.
RL goes and gets a profile Z coaster, Shaun, and this thing. So I came into PhoenixBikeCompany and I'm like, Shaun, tell me about the Z coaster from Profile. He starts describing it to me. Now, you guys, when free coasters first came out back in the early 80s, the first one that I ever remember, I think was maybe ACS. I don't remember who made it, but there was one company made a free coaster. And if you pedaled backwards, it sounded like a garbage disposal and spoons in a garbage disposal. It was gnarly. And I was like, that is not the sound I want on my bike. But I would see people like Chad DeGroot just going and taking that to a next level of like the amount of progress that happened once free coasters came out because you didn't have to pedal backwards. Absolutely. I mean, that hyperspace flatland freestyle forward hugely. And it is, as well as street riding and everything. So RL gets this profile Z coaster. And now I understand profile I just think profile is quality. When I think of profile, I think this is the brand that I have had when I think about profile. People that are going to stand behind their product, people that think about hubs the way that no one else thinks about hubs and cranks and parts and like how they can make it stronger.
And so when I heard they had a free coaster, I was like, okay, well now I'm interested, because until like a big brand takes it on, like it's one thing if like, you know, some not profile brand takes on a free coaster, because okay, but when profile does it, they're going, we did this, but it's profile. There's an asterisk that comes along with it. And so that right there, they're the monster in the room. So I was like, I'm all ears. So RL is like, I'm going to take this thing apart. And I was like, let's watch RL just absolutely, you know, just destroy this hub and take 4 hours to figure out how to put it back together, right? Because RL is very technical, but also I was like, he's going to blow this hub up and we're going to watch him get stuck. And he takes it apart and there's like 3 parts, dude. And one of them is a slack ring that lets you decide how far you're going to crank. And I was like, that no one's thought of that before. I've never heard of anyone doing anything like that. So now and what that means, you guys, is you can disengage. Now, a free coaster means you disengage everything. So you pedal backwards and your cranks aren't going to pedal backwards, and you disengage the hub. And so that to me is amazing. And so, you know, you can decide how much slack there is before you pedal again. Free coaster. That's amazing. Now, you put that on top of, we were just recently, Shaun, you saw this interview. We talked to Chad DeGroot, right?
Yeah.
And Chad DeGroot's talking about why a free coaster, a Z coaster for BMX racing, if they could figure out, you know, that quick, like disengage over things. Now the sound in your free wheel, the pulse is going to cause drag. That's going to slow you down. So if you can disengage, you have 0 drag. So you have 0 drag on a profile hub that is basically going to spin forever. That's interesting. So my mind thought, as soon as he said that, my mind went to ride outs, because what do we do on our big bikes? We ride them 20, 30 miles. So let's say I'm bombing a hill, I can disengage the free wheel or the Z coaster. I can disengage and have an absolute complete free, no drag resistance downhill or straight away. And now I'm like, dude, that to me is worth investing the $400, $500, $600, $700, whatever this is going to cost. So that's where we're at today, you guys. So Isaac is looking at upgrading cranks, because that's the one thing where I'm like, you know what? I want to buy one pair of cranks and run these cranks forever. Now, the last part of this long ass intro, you guys, thank you so much for sticking through this, but there's one more piece of this. While I was researching profile, I came across a video of a man named Matt, and he was talking about his cranks, and he talked about why he runs 160 millimeter cranks, and that his bike, he can bunny hop higher. He has more balance because of the how many millimeters your crank arm. So when you look at most of your bikes, every bike I've ever owned in my entire life had a 175 millimeter crank. And I just thought that was what everyone had forever and ever. And basically that was the only size, unless, you know, they were out of stock and you had to get something bigger, like a 180 or something. Shaun, what do you run for racing? Is it still 175 or 180? I feel like racing goes higher.
I mean, back when I used to race, I ran, well, for the most part, 180s.
Okay.
But so I was, a little bit bigger, yeah, a little bit bigger, like basically pedal stroke as far as the diameter goes, so you can spin easier.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys, when I say the length of a crank, if this pen is a crank and then your pedal is here. So if your, you know, cranks go this way, right? So if you're pedaling and you have a 160 versus a 175, your feet are closer, right? So now, and this is why it made sense when Matt said that on that video, because Shaun, if I'm going to stand on the ground and I'm going to jump straight up in the air and get as high as I can from flat ground, the closer my feet are together versus being, you know, a foot, let's say a stride away.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to jump higher. So to me, the light bulb went off, like, yeah, that makes sense. And these big bikes, because they're so long, because these bikes are so long, they are a little bit more difficult to balance. So Shaun, I'm curious, and I would like to talk to you about getting some new cranks that maybe are, I don't know if I should go 165, 170, or 160. So I'm going to be looking at your opinion on that. And then I'm also going to purchase a Z coaster hub for my 29 that I can put on, like, I'll probably put, that's my main flatland bike that I'm using. So I'll put it on that. And then I'm also looking at a beast mode hub, because you guys know that my favorite bike is the PK Ripper 27.5. That is my everything bike. And Profile makes a specific hub for that sized rear end to work on your PK Ripper, work on a couple. So we'll talk about that. Shaun, I do have a special guest we're going to introduce today to you. We have all the way from Florida, Matt Coplon from Profile. Matt, thank you so much for making time on a Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon for you to be here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You guys. So this got lucky. This is so lucky. I saw that video of Matt and I went over to the Profile website and I just sent a regular email to PR. And then who gets back to me? The dude from the video gets back to me. He's like, hey man, I don't know a whole lot about big bikes, but I do know a lot about BMX. And I'm absolutely happy to come and talk about Profile. Now, what I love about this is Matt's like, dude, we are all about local bike shops. And I was like, hell yeah, brother. Cause I am all about local bike shops, because I love the fact that we can go online, we can go on Amazon, we can buy stuff, and that's great. Now, what the difference is if I go and buy a Profile hub from the Profile website, odds are I can tell you right now, I would have bought all the wrong stuff. And then Profile would have sent me exactly what I told them to send me. And I would have walked into my local bike shop and I would have walked into Shaun holding my box, and I'm going to open it up like it's Pulp Fiction, and then it's going to shine, you know what I mean? And we're going to all go, oh, here's my hub. And then Shaun's going to go, yeah, bro, this ain't going to fit on your bike.
It's not going to work.
Idiot. And then I'm going to go, damn it. Right. So what we have today, I have Shaun from my local bike shop. I have Matt from Profile, and we are going to talk about how to buy this stuff, how to find out what's going to work, and how to do this through your local bike shop so you don't do what I normally do and buy the wrong shit. So that's where we're going to go with this. So I have over here on the two screens that we're going to have today, I'm going to bring it up so you guys get an idea what we're talking about. On this side over here, I have the PK Ripper on the SE website. So I'm going to go to the SE Bikes website. We're going to show you how to do this with SE. And you guys, this is how you do this with any of your big bikes. You can do the research yourself, but then your bike shop, I cannot emphasize this enough. Your bike shop will make sure that you don't get the wrong stuff. So I come here when I'm researching new parts for my bike, and I go to bikes and I go to the retro series because I'm going to look up my PK Ripper. So down here, I know the PK is at the bottom of this list, but you find whatever bike you have through this list. I'm going to go PK Ripper. Now, I know I want to get new cranks for my PK Ripper. These are aluminum cranks. They're great. There's nothing wrong. This is more for me a performance and a mental upgrade, if that makes sense to anybody that thinks the way I do. I want some chromoly cranks that I'm never going to buy new ones again. So that's what I'm looking for here, Shaun. What I know about those cranks, they have a 24, where's right here, 24 millimeters. So I go here, I find crank set, you guys. SE Racing 175. So I know the bike that I'm riding right now has 175 millimeter forged aluminum two-piece cranks. It has an external sealed Euro bottom bracket and a 24 millimeter hollow aluminum spindle, 39 tooth chain ring. And it's a two-piece chain ring, but so, when I'm going to upgrade this, Shaun, what do I need to know? What do I need to buy?
I mean, basically you just want to make sure like you want to go with your bottom bracket, because depending on what cranks you want to go with, like prime example for like us dealing with Profile stuff, a lot of Profile stuff, their spindles are either 19 millimeter or 22.
Okay.
So you want to match up your bottom bracket. So like when you saw the 24 millimeter hollow spindle, that's a different size as far as the inner diameter of your bottom bracket bearings and then the diameter of the actual spindle.
Okay.
So like
I'm going to use a pen real quick to try and describe this. Okay, sure. Guys, here's my fountain. Here's my fountain pen. Now this pen is thin here, gets a little bit thicker here, gets a little thicker here. So if I'm going to use this and imagine that you bolt your cranks onto here, this might be 24 millimeter. This might be 22 millimeter. This might be 19 millimeter down here. So when we're talking about the different size, 19 to 24, we're talking about the width, the girth of the actual axle, the spindle that goes through the holes in the bottom bracket. Am I correct?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
And I think it's funny you said girth. I don't know why that word gets me, but it makes me laugh.
I say it because it's awkward, bro. It gets your
I think
attention.
so too. Like
It gets your attention. It's the diameter, you guys. It's the diameter of the spindle. So, all right. So that is what you're looking at there. So now I know that on my, if I'm going to use the stock bottom bracket, I have to get a 24 millimeter axle or spindle for my cranks. Now, is there a benefit to a 24, or is what am I looking at there? Because when I look at axles or spindles, I see solid axles, I see titanium axles, and I see hollow gun drilled
hollow, the GDH.
GDH. And so this question here, I'm going to say, Matt, what is the difference? Why is there so many different options for spindles?
Well, we did the original 19 mil cranks the Profile came out with, which was in 78, came with a stock standard solid 19 mil 48 spline spindle. That was the standard up until, I mean, it still is the standard realistically. And then it changed to a heavier duty crank in the late 90s, about 97, 98, when we started making a 7/8 spindle, which was kind of an American version of a 22 mil. It's really close. It's just a tad bit bigger or smaller. I can never remember the math on that, but it's relatively close to a 22 mil. We've stuck with the 22 mil since then with our column cranks and our elite cranks that have come out. We've stuck with the 22 mil, like a standard 22 mil on those cranks. And that's just kind of what we've progressed to have a more rigid crank available to the consumer. The elite cranks, which are our most heavy duty cranks, we offer the 22 mil spindle, but we also, that crank, there's so much time and effort and work that goes into that crank arm that you have the spindle, but you also have this basically bulletproof arm that goes onto it as well. I mean, it almost looks like a military part when you get to brass tacks. There's so much metal and time and welding that goes into that. But long story short, yeah, for us, it's just 19 and then 22 mil. The GDH came about, I would say about 12 years ago when we started drilling our spindles hollow just to save weight. The solid spindles aren't a bad choice. We still make them. They're just super rigid, where the hollow, the GDH hollow still has the rigidity. It's just, there's just a weight reduction there as well. So we've kind of made that our standard over the years.
Okay. And so I'm not going to see like, it's not going to be something where I'm like, oh, I have to be a little bit more careful with a gun drilled spindle versus the 19 that you've had forever. They're all going to be strong.
I wouldn't think so. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been riding titanium spindles honestly since the early 2000s, and I switched to that hollow GDH tie. 19 mil is what I ride, and I've never. I mean, there's going to be wear over maybe 5 or 6 years down the road. I'm pretty light on my feet, but no, not at all. I think the GDH version is. I mean, it's not technically going to be as rigid as a solid spindle, but I think they work just as good. So
for an old guy doing wheelies, you're going to tell you think like, yeah, you should be okay, Isaac.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, guys,
I
here's the funny thing too.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm gonna quickly right now. We're gonna cut to a clip of Matt riding, so you can see why I value his opinion. So we're just gonna throw a quick clip. Boom.
This is Matt Coplon from Profile Racing. Quality Bike Products hit us up and asked us what was our favorite profile component on our current setup. For me, it's our 160 classic 19 mil cranks. I switched to our 160 cranks about 12 years ago, and what I figured out after switching was that it makes ambidextrous spinning a lot easier, gives you a better center of balance for manualing, and you can actually bunny hop quite a bit higher with a shorter crank. Our 160 cranks are available in black or chrome. They're available in right-hand drive or no boss for spline drive sprockets, which is what I ride. If you're a bike shop, you can snag a pair from Quality Bike Products. And if you're in the Tampa Bay area, you can get them from 720 BMX Shop, JNR Bicycles, or VeloChamp.
All right, you guys, that is Matt riding. And so now you can see why I trust his opinion and why it matters. Matt is not just a dude that works at Profile and memorized white papers. Matt is like you and I. Matt rides. He understands it. Thank you, Matt, for that. So I would say, you know, it sounds like I would be okay with either one of those spindles, you know, for what I'm doing. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to back up what Matt's saying, I've been riding profile cranks for 15 years, something like that. Race bikes, street bikes, my dirt jumper. I've been on the GDH, and I'm a big dude. I'm not, you know, small by any means, but I still like to jump around. Like, I've had not one single problem with the same one. I run the GDH titanium spindles.
Okay.
I haven't had a single problem with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
And you guys, the bike I've seen Shaun. Shaun's a big dude, and the bike behind him is a D. Is that your DD?
Oh yeah, my dirt jumper.
Because he has a DD right there. I've watched him do a wall ride on the side of the shop on that, and I've also watched him do wall rides on the side of the shop with his Phoenix Ripper. So
We all know that noise.
yeah, yes we do. Okay, so so what it sounds like, because what I'm looking at on this website, 24 millimeter sprocket, I need also a new bottom bracket that'll fit the 22 or the 19. Shaun, what do you suggest I go with for my new cranks?
I mean, it's completely up to you. I mean, the 22, like kind of like what Matt was saying. I mean, since it's a bigger diameter, they are a little bit stiffer, I guess, in my opinion, as far as what I've heard from a lot of other people too. But I run the night. I've never had. I guess when he was talking about the 5/8 cranks, I had those. It might have been those because like back in the day when I was younger, jumping off of roofs and stuff like that, I had the Profile SS cranks, which were I think the first ones that came out with the bigger diameter spindle. Basically race cranks on steroids kind of thing is what I can describe them as. But I run 19 mil on every single one of my bikes still to this day. And
Okay.
like I said, I've never had a problem.
Well, let's take a look at the profile site. So I'm going to look here, and I'm going to go to store, and I'm going to go to shop. And then over on this left-hand side, profile BMX. And then from here, I'm going to go to profile cranks. All right. So here's the elites, dude. This is where, Matt, this is where I get stuck, bro. Because I instantly click here and I'm like, I want all this, right? So you guys, these are just, look at this. Look how gorgeous that is, you guys. So I get stuck on how pretty these are, dude. And I get into this part and I'm like, okay, so 170. So that matches the shorter bottom bracket. I know that I have a Euro right now. I have a Euro external, correct, Shaun? We just talked about this.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So do I need a 68 millimeter or a 73 millimeter?
68.
68. This is why you guys, you do this with a bike shop, because as much as I ride my bike, Shaun knows this kind of stuff. So 68. Cool. Spider, I don't care. That's going to be, we'll go silver. And black arm. I do like the idea of that crank arm being black and that being silver. And the axle, 6.2, 4, or 8, Shaun?
So, I mean, it all depends. So, the Euro, I mean, what with that was actually a question I had for Matt. Like, with that, I mean, they usually come with the elites. Honestly, that's like the one part on my profile bucket list, I guess, if you will, that I have not owned.
Okay.
So, with them being like, I mean, I've installed them on many bikes, but I've just never owned them myself. So, I mean, with that being said, I mean, would it be, as far as Matt's expertise, would it be a 6.2 with the Euro outboard bottom bracket?
Yeah, 6.2 is going to be 90, maybe even 95% of the cranks. The setups out there would be a 6.2. 6.4 and 6.8 are more for like the mountain bike end, for all the different width.
Like my dirt jumper, basically, the wider shells and whatnot.
Sure. Okay.
Yes.
So 170 black, Euro external bottom bracket, silver, and then titanium 6.2. That's for the elites. All right. Now, for me, someone like just Matt, basic, if you would say, hey man, my buddy is getting back into BMX. I'm going to be doing things like a lot of wheelies, some jumping off curbs, light wall rides. That's it. Not a whole lot of a punishment, but the difference is it is a big bike. And so I feel like the big bikes do, I can't land as smoothly as I remember landing on a 20-inch bike, bro, especially at my age. So what would be the middle, like, and I'm saying middle of the line for profile, what would be like, if you had entry level, if elites are the grand poobah, the highest of the high for cranks, what would be, your everyday workhorse cranks?
Well, I would say the Imperial sprocket. I'm gonna move forward to the sprocket situation. We'll move back to the cranks. The Imperial sprocket are our most popular chainring for the big bikes, in 33, 36s, and 39s, and they work best on the right-hand drive race cranks.
Okay.
Which is actually right there. And those are the cranks we make the most of, because we've been making those forever. So they're a lot more streamlined for us to manufacture. The elites obviously take a lot more time. I posted up something recently of Jim Alley, the owner, actually tack welding those elite cranks, which is awesome that he still does the welding, part of the welding for a product. But not to digress, the right-hand drive race cranks are standard cranks. They work with Imperials, which is our most popular sprocket. It's a bolt-on sprocket. And then we have the most sizes in the race crank as well, because they start at 125, they jump to 145s. Some of the product, the sizes aren't listed on the website because the website actually works like its own shop, so it gets its own inventory. So It doesn't necessarily show the complete inventory of what we manufacture. But 145s we start at, then they jump to 160s, 65, 70, 75, 77, 80, 82, 85, and then 90s as well, which aren't listed on there, but we do make 190s as well. So in the average right now, I would say across the board is actually 170s. I would say we sell the most 170s across the board. And then going up and down depending on inventory, and what someone can compromise with. So.
Can you briefly touch on the sizes? Because I thought that was probably one of the coolest videos I've ever seen. I expected it to be like an edit. I expected that. And then actually it's an edit with you discussing why you should run different cranks.
Sure. I mean, it's funny because I never raced. I got straight into freestyle in 1989 and that's all I've done. And when I started working at Profile in 2001, I walked in and there's all these different cranks and all these different sizes. I mean, at the factory, we have a wall that's just all the cranks we make. And I never really understood those incrementals, like, the 75 to the 77. We actually get a lot of people asking for 172.5s, which we don't. It's interesting that it's just such a specific size. And I never understood that until I actually started experimenting with crank arm lengths myself. So, I came on board. I started riding for Profile in 98, and the first cranks that I had gotten from Profile were actually SS 180 mil cranks, which were super big. And I mean, granted, my bike weighed 45 pounds. I have front and back brakes. And I'm still kind of a small person. So it's funny that I had this bike that was just massive, and it wasn't conducive to my riding style. I just dealt with it. But I started with the 180s, and then over the years, I would move down just as experiment. I went from 180s to 175s, then I went to 170s, and then I jumped on 165. And then I jumped to 160s in about 2005, and I've stayed there. And as I explained in that video, like you explained with your feet being closer together, it's easier to bunny hop when your feet are closer together. You actually have a better center of balance too when your feet are closer together, especially for ambidextrous spinning. So I was able to learn spinning 360s both ways because it's easier when your feet are closer together. And then honestly, for manualing, I feel manualing, which I'm assuming would be the equivalent, maybe not wheelies because you're pedaling, but for manualing, when you're just coasting and doing a wheelie, 160s are so dialed because it keeps your feet closer together. It's a different, a more closer center of balance, and it just tends to work a lot better, I think. But then again,
it makes a lot of sense.
It's also going to play into like your height though, I think as well. Like I'm 5'8", I think, which is funny because the first ID I got in 95 said it was 5'11". They didn't even check my height. That's just what I told them. And I'm like, I'm actually 5'8". But anyways, that just tends the 160s work for me. It might not work for a much taller rider. So, but yeah, that's just experimenting with that. And like I said, 160s are what I've stuck with, but some of those sizes in between might be better for the big bikes, depending. Yeah. So
would you say, would I note, I mean, and this is me just get at personal opinion, rider to rider, and this is for both of you, my question. Do you think I will easily is not the right word. Do you think I will have a huge noticeable difference between going 175 to say 165? Or Matt and Shaun, would you suggest, because I'm so used, my brain has rode 175 since the day I got on a bicycle. Should I go 170 or should I go 165 or should I just make that jump to 160? What would your opinions be?
I mean, in my opinion, I was lucky, having worked at Profile, that I could do the experiment of it going down 5 mil increments. So I went from 180 to 160 over years. Right. I think going from a 175 to a 170 is going to be your best bet because it's only 5 mil. 5 mil is a lot. I went as an experiment from 160s to 145s at one point, and they felt terrible. I lost so much stuff because it was just too short. So depending on your size, your height, I think it would be better to go with 170s. Seem to be the general across the board, not necessarily on the race end, but on the freestyle end, and basically in general pedaling a bike. 170s seem to be the good medium that to go to. So
okay, 170 it is, Shaun. So Shaun, keeping track at home, I'm gonna go with I'm definitely solid on a 170 mil crank.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing because, like Matt said, changing that drastic of a change, even though it's millimeters and it doesn't seem like that much, but even like you ride your bike a lot, you get used to the way it feels, the way it spins, and even though like maybe it's 175 to 170, it's 5 millimeters, but you'll notice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I think too, one of the things you guys, those of you that have rode a bike and that you've ridden a bike for a long time, you kind of go, there's a time when you autopilot is the way I would describe it. Like if I'm doing, let's say, a tail whip, my brain just knows where to throw my feet. Like my feet go there.
Muscle memory.
That's muscle memory. That's what's going to change, is that the things that I'm anticipating is the muscle memory of where my feet go. So I expect a couple of weird landings on different things like that. And then the other part is just going to be that the apex of pedaling when you're in a wheelie, that apex at the very top where you're going from pulling to pushing, and that is going to feel a little bit different. And that's the only things that I'm really kind of excited about. And also, hey, that's what I'm anticipating feeling with a new crank arm system and style. So I think I'm good on the cranks. Shaun, what do you think? Should I go elite or the race crank set? Because knowing that I want to just buy one pair of cranks and not mess with them forever.
I mean, it's there. I'm so biased when it comes to profile stuff because it doesn't matter what option you choose. I think it's a great choice. Like I said, I mean, the elite cranks are beautiful. I mean, they look just phenomenal. I mean, if you're going back and forth, like I said, you can't go wrong. But like the elites are a beautiful, well-designed crank. And I mean, I know a few people that have ridden them, and dude, they're like, I would like, race cranks are great, but then they rode elites, and now they're like, I don't know if I'll go back to race cranks. Like it's, I guess whatever look you want to go with, because depending on like, one of the questions I actually had for Matt is like, so the elite cranks come with the actual, it's the spline drive spider that's on them.
Yeah.
So with that, can you just, instead of running the spline drive spider, can you just run a spline drive sprocket?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, the way those are kitted out is that they come with the arms, the spindle, the spider, and the bottom bracket. We don't switch out spider for a sprocket, but you can always get it use another
additional.
sprocket. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we do have the Galaxy 22 mil sprockets that would work, and also the Sabre Universal sprocket that will work as well. So
Okay. Matt, you're killing me right now, dude. Okay, so the Galaxy, what do you have for Galaxy Rust right now? Because I think that is the coolest looking. I just want to say, by the way,
yeah,
PS, dude.
We make a Galaxy sprocket actually that came out a while ago, and then we had I should say a colorway called Galaxy Rust, which was Anthony Napolitan's colorway, and unfortunately that colorway literally sold out in a day.
I believe that.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
So,
if you see it,
it's beautiful.
It was a long process to get to that. It actually took us almost 2.5 years to get that color out. And I won't go into details, but we definitely could only make a certain amount, and that certain amount sold out in no time. So, side note, sorry.
That is so fly, dude. You guys look up the limited edition color stuff. You guys like the Terry Adams Aqua, right? Was it Terry Adams Aqua?
No, we just reintroduced it with an ad with Terry, but Aqua used to be a color of ours, but we brought it back. It was limited for a while. Now we actually have it, but before COVID hit and production was kind of ramped up and we were trying to keep stock levels, we were doing like 2 limited colorways a year. So we've done several, but I mean, we're only doing 100 pieces when we do it. So it just really quick. So,
man, I know that.
I love my Aqua stuff. Like I've had the Aqua stuff for like 7 years now, and still every single person that sees it is just like, oh my god, like, it's still, it's just like the color's still hella vibrant, you know, like it looks brand new, like it did back then. Like
it's great stuff, dude. The colors are amazing. So, all right. It's hard, dude. Okay, so it's hard for me to choose between the race cranks and the elites, especially just knowing that, like, man, I might get a pair that were touched by the guy that started Profile. If
you're gonna go for it, man, just go with the elite. I mean, why not? You only live once, right?
Well, yeah. Also, I have a wife downstairs. I have to explain why I'm spending so much money. Okay, so I'm gonna go back over here. It sounds like we're gonna make a decision on my cranks here in a minute. I'm going to quickly go back to the site, and we're going to move on to Hub, Shaun. So I know I want a free coaster hub. So we're going to go back to Profile BMX. We're going to go to hubs, and you guys, you can see it when you scroll because it is the meatiest and hardiest of them all, the Z coaster, right? Lots of different colorways. You can see the profile colors are ridiculous. They have a matte black and a polished, like a shiny gloss black. Of course, they have all the colors. Now, Shaun.
Yes.
When I'm going through this, dude, I need you to help me understand things, because where I get stuck here, every time I've ever tried to buy a hub here or plan a hub, I get stuck through these last 3 things here. So I know I want the 3. Okay, you guys, what I learned watching, we're talking with Chad DeGroot and watching RL's video. These slack rings. So a third of a crank is when it's going to engage, quarter, a fifth, a sixth. This one has 3 different options. I want the least amount of slack, and so I'm going to go with that option. I do know that. And we're going to quickly go right-hand side, left-hand drive, RHD, LHD. When I'm standing over my bike, Shaun, Matt, right-hand drive means RHD means the sprocket is on the right-hand side when I'm standing on my bike or when I'm looking at my bike. Let's clarify that for kids.
When you're standing over your bike, your sprocket is going to be on the right. That is right-hand drive.
Yep.
Okay. So most bikes that you buy, I've never seen a complete with a left-hand drive, but I'm sure someone makes one. But most bikes that you ever bought in a bike shop, the crank, the sprocket, and the chain are on the right-hand side of the bike. Everything in the 80s, when I grew up, it was all right-hand drive. And the reason they offer left-hand drive is because grinding and the side that you want to grind on. Is that essentially the difference between left hand and right hand?
Correct.
people
Yes.
to do that.
Yeah.
I actually ride left-hand drive because my predominant grinding side is on the right, so it just keeps my chain out of the way of grinding. So when you're pedaling 10 miles down the road and you miss that grind and break your chain, to walk your bike home.
Yep. So that is you decide which side feels comfortable. Now, when you look at it, like if you close your eyes and you imagine bunny hopping up on the pegs on a handrail, where does your mind want you to jump? Does it want to land the right hand pegs on it or the left hand pegs? And that's how you essentially would decide left hand or right hand drive. Is that an accurate way to look at that?
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to continue because I don't move my cheese. I want to stay with the right hand drive because that's what I know and love. And so I'm not going to, go and do anything dramatic. I'm going to go right hand drive. So I know it's right hand drive. The color, I really don't care about the color. So I'm probably going to go black. I do care. Shaun tells me I care about color.
You always care. You always got to care.
Here's where I care. If it is if it's like the aqua stands out real well, but you guys, this is going to go on probably all of every new bike that I get. I'm probably just going to swap these wheels over to whatever. So I'll probably go black or white. Whatever they have in stock, you guys, you know me, I'm that guy that's like, I will ride those, throw up orange hubs that nobody else wants if they're great, because that's not me. I care about the way it sounds and looks and not what it sounds and feels.
The good thing about this is that they don't make a bad color. So
that's true. That's true. I think black. I'm gonna go black, Shaun.
I'm not gonna lie, over all the bikes that I've had over the years,
actually I'm gonna go white.
I've only not had two colors that they make now, which is other than the limited editions ones, but I've had almost every single color. I haven't had the matte black ones, and I haven't had green.
Gotcha. That's awesome.
I'm gonna go white because I think white is gonna stand out real well, and I think
white is cool.
It might be interesting color. I've never had a white hub. Never. That's why. All right. So, excuse me. On our SE bike, Shaun, dropout size for front and back are all the same, I believe. Am I correct?
Yep, they're going to be 3/8.
And they are all 3/8, you guys. So this is important. BMX bikes have adopted the bigger dropouts. We are still running the basics. So you want 3/8. Female axle. Okay, so I don't inner female axle choose bolts or choose bolts. I don't. Oh, titanium. Shaun, do I need to? I don't need titanium, Shaun. I know you think I need titanium everything, but I really don't.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just I have a weird obsession with titanium.
He does. I'm gonna go chromoly because
I don't know what it is, but I don't know.
So Matt, titanium is a stronger metal. For those of us following along at home, titanium is a stronger metal. Does it last longer? Is it stronger? The threads are going to be stronger. What's the advantage there for me to go up in metal?
I mean, I would stick if you're gonna do a Z coaster, I would stay with the chromoly inner female axle. That's fine. The tie, I mean, for me, titanium is just weight savings. If you're not concerned with weight, I wouldn't stress it. Okay. I am concerned with weight. My bike weighs nothing, so I like it being nice and light. But for sake of this setup, chromoly is totally fine. So
excellent. Okay, thank you there for that one. The bolt option. Now this I know that I really, really like. This is what I've learned looking at bikes, because you guys, one thing that I told Matt that I don't think Profile understands is how much we spend on profile as Bike Life and how much we like to show off. Hey, this is the bike I always wanted when I was 13, 14, and now we just have really good paper routes and we can afford to buy what we wanted. And so I see these things called volcano cone bolts, and I think they look. This is where I'm going to also be a hypocrite, because I'm like, I don't care about anything. No, I care about those volcano bolts, dude. I think those look classy. Yep. And I feel like they add a little bit of, I believe they add a little bit of horsepower, maybe 2% horsepower over regular bolt that you normally use. So I feel like, you would go a little bit faster and stronger because of volcano bolts.
That the cool thing about the volcano bolts is that they come like whatever color you pick.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about white because I can't remember, but they match the color of your hub, so it's a little bit more detail as well. Like,
oh damn. Okay, well, I'd still probably go white. I don't know. Now that makes me want to go purple.
well, I don't know. I mean, does the Matt would obviously know. Does the white one come with white volcano?
The white actually comes with silver usually. Yeah, we don't do
Okay.
white is powder coat, so we can't
Yeah.
necessarily coat those cones because then the bolt won't fit. So they'll come with silver.
That's
No,
kind of why I guess I suggested it, because I was like, I know white can't be anodized, so it's usually powder coated. So
if I go in anodized color, like let's say purple right-hand drive, that would come with purple volcano bolts if it's anodized.
It should.
it should, yeah.
Should. Okay.
Like
You guys,
prime example, like my aqua ones came with aqua volcano bolts.
Yeah.
Well,
Here's the thing. Yeah.
The only reason I say should is because it also is dependent upon inventory. Like we do right now, currently, I know we have purple cones, volcano cones, so you're good. In 3 weeks from now, we might only have black.
Yeah,
So,
you guys, COVID has changed everything about bike parts, and so I'm also in the boat of I would rather have a hub than the matching bolts. That's me personally. I would rather you send a working functional hub right away than wait however long it takes to get the correct anodized volcano bolts back. So I am absolutely fine with whatever shows up on my front doorstep, and we'll have no complaints over it because it's COVID, you guys. All right. So bolt option then, if I leave that there, then I go 3/8 chromo bolt with volcano cone. That's the one right there, right?
Yep.
Okay. This is so helpful. This is farther than I've gotten in the past doing this myself. Driver, Shaun. I need a big driver, right? So the biggest I can get is a 12 here.
Yeah, I would say probably on that, because you're putting it on what, either the 27.5 or like the flyer. So either 27.5 wheel or 29.
Yep.
Most likely. I would go, the 12, the biggest that you can.
Yeah. Matt, right now I'm running a 17, if that, like a 16, 17.
Yeah, I mean, considering that hub, hasn't really catered to the cogs. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's probably the largest driver you'll have an option for, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Do you see any issues going with a big, like a 12, or should I stick with a 9 and go with the bigger front sprocket, or adjust the gearing there?
Honestly, that's going to be entirely up to you. So, I mean, if you're currently riding something big, I would try to go as big as you can. So,
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sure. I was curious. Like, what makes me wonder is, like, is there any difference in the torque that's applied to that driver with a 9 versus a 12? I just don't know physics well enough.
Yeah, I mean, what's funny as a historical side note, there was a lot of questioning of that when the 9s first came out. Actually, the 10s came out before the 9s, and there was a lot of questioning whether the physics were going to break chains. We ended up making a 9, and honestly, it didn't really affect it at all. So, I'm sure there is some sort of physics involved that might lean one way or the other, but from personal experience, I've never had any issues with 9s. So
if Matt hasn't done anything to it, my funky wheelies are not going to have any problems, so I'm good there. All right, so that sounds like I totally get. I got through farther than I've ever got. I got to the bottom. Boom, there we go. Shaun, take notes. This is the hub on mine.
Here, hold on a second. I'm gonna take a picture of the screen. This is gonna be my notes.
There you go.
All right, I got it.
All right, so we're gonna go there. We're gonna go with the Elite cranks, and then last but not least, I do want to look at. Let me go. I'm just gonna go back. The Beast Mode hub, which would fit my PK Ripper, which was, I believe it's usually up here. Beast Mode compatible Elite rear disc hub. Okay. Now this is where we had started over here on the SE website, and we know that the wheel set is 142 mil rear, and this is on the PK Ripper 27.5. So I'm looking for 142 rear. This one, 142 millimeter width, you guys. So we know the beast mode fits the beast mode SE bikes, also fits the PK Ripper, anything 142. And what you're seeing right now, that is a volcano cone.
Correct.
That we've talked about. So that's, you guys, that's why I want it, because look how clean that looks. All right. So can we just talk about that detail? Let's just talk about the look of that hub and just the precision. That is amazing. You guys, that's what you're paying for profile, is that bulletproof looking housing, and then all the magic that happens on the inside of this thing. So,
and it just looks classy.
It just looks good. You're right. You're 100% right. I won't deny that. Okay. Hub color, black or polished, black.
One thing I wanted to mention too on the beast mode hubs, since we're talking, bike shops, we actually offer a lot more colors than black and polished in the beast mode hubs. And we reserve those as special orders through our bike shops. So if anyone is interested in any colors, we do have those in stock, but those can only be purchased through your local bike shop. So just keep that in mind as well.
Perfect. So, because so my PK is purple, and it's polished black and purple. So I put down black here, Shaun, but when we do the screenshot, I need purple as well.
I kind of had a feeling.
And then I am going to go 17. That's what I put. Did I put a 17 on there, Shaun? What was that absolute that we bought?
On there, you have an 18 right now, because it came with a 17 and then we upped it one.
Okay, I'm gonna go
so
18.
The absolute Black Hog that's on there now is 18.
Okay, purple 18, Shaun.
One more time. I mean, I'll probably remember all this anyway, but just in case.
Just in case, dude. Okay. All right, Matt, you have been invaluable in helping us navigate this and understanding the different parts of profile. Now, what would you say is for bottom brackets?
Mm-hmm.
Is there, when it comes to bottom brackets, is there a huge advantage to using, like, let's say, a profile bottom bracket with profile cranks, or could you use like, hey, I got a stock thing and upgrade later? Or is it one of those things where you'd say it's worth it to save up and get everything at once?
That might be a question for Shaun, actually, for the bike shop end. I would, me personally, when I build up new bikes, I go new everything, just because I just like my bike brand new. Bottom brackets do, even though I ride a mid mostly, they do have a tendency over time to get worn out. So I always upgrade to a bottom bracket, a new bottom bracket. As far as compatibility issues go, I don't know on that. That would be a question for on the shop end to see if they are compatible. So to answer that, I'm not sure. Other than I know the fact that if you buy profile cranks with a profile bottom bracket, it's going to work, 100%. So.
Yep. Shaun, I have a personal opinion. I want to hear your opinion on it.
On a lot of it, I agree with Matt on a lot of stuff. Like, here and there, like if you're, obviously if you're putting new cranks in, kind of thing, I always suggest doing a bottom bracket if you can afford it. Mm-hmm. Compatibility wise, obviously, like Matt was saying, profile is going to obviously work with profile, but profile does a great job of tolerances and things like that, not only to be superior with their products, but others as well. Like, prime example right now, like I have like on my big ripper, the Phoenix Ripper, I have the SE, basically the SE stock V-Ridge cranks in it, but I'm running a profile outboard bottom bracket on it.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, I think for me personally, you guys, I'm always going to tell you, I align with Matt. I'm going to tell you, save up and get everything new at the same time, because it's easier to it's easier to troubleshoot an issue if everything is new, and having something that is if you're going to upgrade and you want to have a full experience of, let's say, profile cranks, it just makes sense to have a brand new profile bottom bracket, because again, it's made to fit together. There's no compatibility issues, and you're not going to have any of what Matt exactly had said. Like, over time, things are going to wear out because you're using them. And that's exactly the way it should happen. They should wear out versus breaking or exploding. So parts are going to wear out because you're enjoying your bike. Just the same way that your car wears out because you drive it to the store every day. Parts will wear out. But if you get a new bottom bracket with new cranks, you are going to have the experience, a profile designed in their minds, when it's like, hey, you're gonna upgrade to this performance part. Do it right. Get the profile bottom bracket at the same time, so you're not riding a brand new crank with some slightly ovaled bearings on the inside. So I would say that I'm in the same school. Get that new one, and that way also how long it's lasted. So hey, I got these cranks for, let's say it's Christmas. I got these at Christmas when I turned 16, and now it's your 17th Christmas. Yeah, Christmas of a year later, you're like, man, maybe I should upgrade that bottom bracket. It's about time. So it's easier to maintain that stuff. So I'm in the same boat. And when it comes to all the different types of spindles, it sounds like everything, the hollow stuff is going to be for weight, but it's going to be as strong as the regular non-drilled. And that's one thing that I learned today. That's really important for me. And then as far as big bikes, the jury's still out as far as like what crank sizes are going to be ideal. But you can't argue the physics that Matt talked about of like having your feet closer together is going to be easier to control your bike. You can't, that's just human nature. That's the way that our joints work and the way that our muscles work. That does make sense to me. And then moving to a different size crank, I'm excited to try that. So Matt, I think we've answered everything that we have. Do you know, is Profile aware of how much we spend on Profile? Or is this new to you when you hear, man, there's a lot of these big bikes using this stuff?
No, not at all. I mean, I only deal with bike shops. So we've got a lot of shops that have been existing shops of ours that this is their bread and butter now. We also have a lot of shops that have come on board that they've come on board because this is now why they exist, in the big bike scene. So no, we've definitely been aware of it. It's just like our conversation last week when I was riding to Richmond. You enlightened me on a lot of things that I just never considered because I've never ridden that style bike.
Right.
Not out of not being interested. It's just I'm so obsessed with 20-inch BMX bikes that I haven't ridden anything else.
Dude, so as someone that rides a big bike, I will tell you this. I started on a 20-inch bike. I love 20-inch bikes. And ride your 20. This is me. Ride your 20 until you can't ride it anymore. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to that age when it's like, man, like I've dislocated my knee 3 times. So if I have a 20-inch bike, if I get on my 20-inch bike, I really only have about an hour's worth of time before my fun factor and my ibuprofen factor collide. You know what I mean? Like it's that crazy hot scale, right? It's like, okay, yeah, my knee hurts and I can't, okay, I'm done. Now a big bike gives me a little bit more time on a bike, which is, I love it. So big bikes are here for you when you're ready for it too. But I will tell you the same thing I tell everyone, man, ride what you want. And if ever you want to just go and do a big ride out wherever you're at, I know you're in Florida. I can get you, I have plenty of friends. We can get you a big bike and you can go ride on one of these big ride outs with all my friends in Florida, and they would love to have you and just experience what it's like, man. It's a lot of fun. Again, please pass this along to everyone else at Profile. Thank you for the years of performance and the normally we, someone says blood, sweat, and tears, and you're like, it's a t-shirt. But when you think about what Profile does and their engineering and their working, so it truly is blood, because you are going to, cut yourself. You are going to get burns while you're welding, and you're going to do all this stuff. And so thank you for all of that you and Profile have put into making strong parts that we can trust.
Absolutely.
It really hit me last night, dude. So I've been married 15 years. We were on our date night with my wife last night. And in between things, we stopped by I live in Arizona. Everyone knows I live in Arizona. We are blessed that we have a bike only skate park in Chandler that we like to ride. And so we stopped by there last night because it was Saturday and it was just fun to go and hang out. We were good weather in Phoenix. It's cooled off a little bit. So we went to the skate park, man, and there was probably a good 100 kids out there. One thing I heard was definitely heard you can hear you guys, anyone that's ever been around someone with a profile hub, you can hear that thing from a mile away. So you could hear the profile hubs, as it was like kid would disappear, drop in, disappear, pop up, zing, and then down, right? So you're like, okay. But just seeing those kids last night and seeing, first of all, we didn't have skate parks back in the 80s. Especially as readily, like any skate park we had was a ditch, was a skate park, or a shovel, and we just basically made our own pump tracks or stole wood. You basically made like sketchy ramps in front of your house. So seeing those kids last night and seeing them shredding on those bikes and what they're able to do, because the parts have caught up to the technology has caught up to the ideas that these kids have to do what they do. And I don't mean kids as disrespectful. It's just, I'm old. Y'all are younger than me, so you're going to be a kid. It has nothing to do with disrespect. But man, it was just amazing to watch those kids shredding last night and what they're doing. And it is, as someone that's been around this scene since I was 13, it just blows my mind what's available. And so thank you to Profile. Thank you, Matt, for your riding and pushing and your positivity. It's so easy just to be, make up I see a lot of riders that just their egos get big and their riding gets big. And, Matt taking time on a week, Matt's taking time on a weekend is not working today to do this with us, just to help big bikes understand how to get better parts. So Matt, thank you for that. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can say that's one thing I've been dealing with Matt for, like I said, all the shops that I've worked at, things like that. Like, dude, half the time I call Profile, Matt answers the phone. Matt responds to the emails. And over all those years, he's still the same down to earth, awesome dude. Like, he hasn't changed.
That's great.
Awesome. Get that thing.
So you guys, I'm just going to do a quick recap. Here's the moral of today's episode and today's story. You can buy parts online. Absolutely, you can. It's easy to do. You watch me go through and set it up. You would have watched me purchase the wrong parts or spend too much money for what my riding style is. This is why I can't tell you, having a relationship with a local bike shop and LBS is so important as a rider, especially someone that takes their riding seriously. Find a shop that understands you, that understands your style of riding and understands your bike. And it's not going to be an important factor. When you walk into a bike shop, don't just look at what they're selling. Go talk to the person working on your bike, because you may have someone with Matt's knowledge working in, let's say, a road bike shop, because that's what he did that day. You know what I mean? He signed up to work there. You don't know what Matt's knowledge is just looking at Matt, unless he's wearing a Profile shirt and, he's got like a X Games hat or something, right? You're not going to know what he knows just by looking at him. So go and talk to him. Hey, I ride this type of riding. I'm looking to do this. What tool is the best option for me? So your local bike shops are invaluable. I cannot say this enough. I get so frustrated when people buy stuff online and then they'll hit me up on my YouTube and say, how do I do this? And I'm like, you take it to the shop you bought it from. Well, I bought it online. Okay, well, go take it to a bike shop and they will help you. You know what I mean? Like I cannot tell you how important it is to have a trusted bike mechanic in your corner, because your bike will run the way it's supposed to. You're going to have a better time riding. You're going to enjoy what you're doing, and you're going to have a lot less stress and frustration, and you're going to throw your bike a lot less. There's that. The other thing is your bike shop will also, what you watch Shaun do. I was ready to buy titanium everything. And then Matt and Shaun explain, okay, it's just going to be mostly weight. It's not going to be, is it stronger? Yes. Is it something you need to spend the extra $80? No, Isaac, you don't. Not with what you're doing. Save me some money, right? So that's where you're going to have that invaluable part. And then at the end of the day, I would have just bought a black Profile beast mode hub, because that's what's available on the Profile website. Now, Shaun, because he's a local bike shop, can actually get me a hub that matches my bike, and I don't have to compromise the color. So talk to your bike shop, talk to your mechanic. they have relationships with these companies like Profile that they can call and get the right stuff you can't see. Shaun can then take it and he will know what he's going to lace this to. And he can even make suggestions. Hey, dude, now would be a good time to upgrade that hoop that you're running because this is going to do X, Y, and Z. So make sure you talk to your local bike shops, consult with them, get to know them, and buy from them. And that's where you're going to get your good warranties. And honestly, you're going to get a better experience on your bike, straight up. That's just the way, that's truth. That's the way it works. So I can't tell you that enough. Shaun, any closing things? This is a hard question, and I know this is going to be hard for you, but as a shop tech, as a manager of a shop, what is any advice that you could give to local riders that want to upgrade their parts? What should they do? Is there any homework they should do before they come and talk to you, or should you be the first person they talk to when buying their parts?
I mean, you're right. That is a hard question. I would say the answer to both of the aspects of that is yes. I'm a firm believer in this day and age, and you don't have to be on our level as far as knowledge goes, but like educate yourself on on your bike. You should at least know a few things about it. It doesn't have to go to the extreme details or anything like that, but like like if you're riding your bike, you should know, I run, either like a 28 or a 33 or a 36 tooth sprocket, and I have, a 17 or 18 on the back. Because that helps, like you don't have to know exactly, but like I said, go to the profile, go to the profile site, look at a few things. Obviously, you're gonna see, a couple different things like the Z Coaster, the Mini SS hub, the Elite hub, the AC2 Elite hub, like kind of see what you want to do, because like you'll see some differences, and then at least then at that point it's a starting point to where if you come in or call me, you can ask me like at that point what's the difference, rather than me trying to basically go through the whole website and explain everything, because you have no base for where you're at. So if you can gather at least a generic platform as far as hey, like I'm looking at profile hubs, Mini SS, AC2 Elite, Z Coaster, just the Elite, disc, non-disc, it helps, because then we kind of, when I basically hopefully don't spew just jargon at you kind of thing, you'll see it and understand it a little bit more, I guess.
I have one more question too, spark something in me. Okay. Matt, when someone says mini hub, does that mean it's smaller? And is it going to be, is it are we talking about the flange when someone says mini hub, or does that mean it's for a small race bike? That's the one thing I don't know about.
No, that's actually a really good question. And let me give you a little bit of history on Profiles manufacturing as well. We tend to, when we make something, there's a slim chance we're going to discontinue it if it works. So the mini hub came out in 2001. We called it a mini because it was mini in comparison to the high flange hubs, which were our standard 7 or 8 years prior. So the mini hub, yeah, you're right. It has a smaller flange, and just in Corey, who designed the hub, probably thought, not to speak for him, but I'm assuming this how it worked. It was just a smaller version of the high flange race hub. So he just called it a mini because it was smaller. It's the non-drive side flange that's smaller, and then the drive side flange is actually the same diameter. So it's just a smaller hub overall, and it's actually a little bit more lightweight, and it's more streamlined than the bigger standard race hub. So
okay,
that's what went into it.
And so the flange on a hub, does that affect strength at all, or noticeable enough?
I mean, going back to that idea of physics, I would say a higher flange is going to make your spoke shorter, so it's going to give more rigidity. But again, from personal experience, I've ridden mini hubs since 2001, and I've never broken one. I have the same force that I've been riding the past, 20 years. So I have 4 sets of wheels. I have not switched those 4 sets of wheels. They're fine. So, and they're all minis. So
yeah, if it's good enough for Matt, you guys, it's going to be fine for janky wheelies. I'm
I
just
mean,
gonna say.
I've had, like I said, when I was going back to when I said I've had almost every color of hubs.
Yeah.
Most of them were all the minis, like because they were all in my all in my 20s, and like the only reason that I got a new one was basically because I wanted a different color. It's not because it broke.
Yeah. Here's something that blew my mind, you guys. We were talking to Chad the Group like 3 weeks ago. We talked to him, and as an 80s freestyle kid, I was like, how come they don't have 48s anymore? How come I can't buy 48? How come these big bikes don't have 48s? And the funniest thing was listening to Chad tell me 48s aren't stronger, bro. And you're like, and then the light bulb goes off and you're like, true. I watched Matt do basically a wall ride through a corner, basically a 180 wall ride. What I don't know what that's called, but it's a wall ride. Yeah, curved wall ride. It's a curved wall, you guys, and he just goes on the wall, right? Almost like at a pump track when you see people do a wall ride that way. If Matt is not destroying his wheels and hubs doing that, trust me, my little lawnmowers in the front yard doing like 80s flatland tricks, I'm not going to have a problem with the wheels. So those of you who are coming back to bikes after, if you left and 48s were the thing and you come back and you're like, how come there's 48s aren't anywhere? It's because we were tricked as kids into thinking you had to have 48 spoke wheels because of the abuse that you're giving your wheels. These are jumping off of houses and jumping over promenades, rooftop, grinds over swing sets on 36 hole wheels, and it's just fine, you guys. So 48s were a myth. 36 is fine. I'm just going to say that for those old people coming back. Continue, Shaun. I'm sorry. I got it. You were talking about the flange.
I don't even remember where it was now.
Okay, you were talking about flange, but flange.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
A higher flange.
Yeah, like the higher flange. I mean, like Matt said, I mean, it creates a shorter spoke. So in theory, obviously, the shorter the spoke, the stronger the wheel. The distance between A and B, the shortest is going to be not as, I guess, lax, if you will.
Yeah.
But same thing. I mean, if you have someone that actually, like, this is why I'm a firm believer hand built wheels. That's why I won't ride any other wheel than, well, I won't let anyone else build my wheels, but like hand built wheels, there's care, just like anything else that, they're not going down an assembly line and just zapped in, with a machine kind of thing. Whereas when I build wheels, when I'm tensioning them, I check it and make sure it's even all the way through until the very, very end. And there's something about that to where, like, a hand-built wheel is going to last you and ride a little bit better because it's going to be correct all the way through.
Yeah. I would tell you when I've had Shaun build 2 sets of wheels for me, and every time, the whole process, like, I get little picture updates texted to me, like, here's your hub, again, you guys, it's like, it's from the outside of the hoop going through the valve hole, showing me the logo, and I'm just like, thanks, dude, appreciate it. And he's like, no, that's the way it's done. That is the correct way.
That's the right way.
Yeah. And
and also, I mean, it is a cool picture, I'm not gonna lie.
It does make for some good gram. I will give you that. It does. The gram appreciates that level of detail, Shaun. All right. Last thing, just a couple little things. So when it comes to, do you think we're onto something with the Z coaster and long rides? Because the style of riding we're looking for is the things that are most important to me as a bike life kid. I need instant engagement, or as quick as the engagement as quick as possible. And I like the idea of being able to disengage on a bomb, like bombing a hill, so we don't have that any friction. I think that to me is just fascinating. When it comes to the profile hubs, or profile products in general, is there anything that we're not thinking of, or any suggestions you would have, knowing the products, that would be complementary to long riding, besides like being able to disengage a Z coaster? Is there any, is the beast mode hub, would you say that's a great, like, long distance or is it just it's made for quick racing? You know what I mean? Is there the other hubs that Profile has? Are those all real conducive to long distance riding as well as the short burst racing type torque that goes on a hub?
And then with that, I want to add to it. Would you say long rides, like I'll answer his question, but then I kind of want to add to it because it's probably going to be similar. But what is the biggest difference between, say, like a regular Elite hub and the AC2 Elite?
Oh, I'm sorry, Shaun. Was that a question for me?
Yeah, no, well, Isaac's question, and then I was kind of adding to Isaac's question because
Okay.
he's talking about long distance hubs and drag and whatnot.
Yep.
And I wanted to I didn't want to ask it twice, but like, is say the AC2 Elite hub, does that have less drag than what your Z Coaster is?
It
or
does.
the Elite?
Yeah. It's got the AC2 has a different bearing setup, and it's got different engagement, which the key to the AC2 is that it was created for less drag, the way the driving mechanism is.
Okay.
So yeah, that serves definitely a different purpose. Less engagement on that one, but also less drag. Where the Elite is going to be a lot more engagement and a little bit more drag because you've got 204 points of engagement on Elite hub. A Mini has got I always forget, I think it's 48 or 96. I can't remember.
96.
But then again, like I pedal my BMX bike long distances as well. I just did a 100-mile ride in the Keys, and I'm getting ready to do a 240-mile ride in January on my BMX. I ride a 39 on that bike, but that I ride mini hubs on that setup as well, and that's perfect for long distance. I mean, I'm cooking. I'm probably averaging like 12, 13 miles an hour on those rides. And just that, I'm standing up the whole time, but when I'm letting it, coast, it's fine. And that instant engagement right back into it allows me to cook, to keep up the speed. So.
And then I guess the other thing, coming back and getting into bike life, one of the most popular questions that I get on my channel, and anytime I post anything with a wheel, is what's the loudest hub? What's the loudest freewheel? What's the loudest cassette? Matt, what makes a loud cassette or freewheel loud to begin with?
Well, we have our Elite freewheel it's basically an Elite style mechanism in a freewheel, like external body. But our standard Elite hub is the loudest hub we make. It's 204 points of engagement, and it is incredibly loud. But I will say that I've never ridden Elite. The way that I set up my minis, by keeping them dry as a bone, all my driving mechanisms are super dry. There's no oil, there's no grease inside, and I put a little bit of extra tension on my springs, which allows my mini hub to be incredibly loud. And that's not something for not necessarily engagement or performance. It's just like, I like a loud hub. I think it sounds awesome.
Yeah. That was actually, I'm glad you touched on that because that was a question too. A lot of people ask me, even with that, like as far as servicing a profile, like I've been, I've built a lot of like the mountain bike style Elite hubs as well. And a dude brought me one that he took somewhere else, and he brought it into me, and it was completely packed full of grease.
Yeah. That just destroys the hub.
I was just like, what is this stuff oozing out of this? And a lot of stuff, like grease isn't bad, but I'm glad you had mentioned it because with that, I run all my stuff super dry as well. Like when I rebuild them, the only thing I might do is that where the actual pawl on the spring, the pawl sits in the hub, I'll put a drop of trifle on my finger and then dab it there. Sure. But other than that, I'm glad to hear that like running them dry from you is basically correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's recommended that you do put a little trifle. Explained is what you should do. I just like them bone dry because I like them loud.
Totally.
So,
yeah.
Grease will destroy grease will destroy a cassette hub for sure.
Oh yeah, I took it apart and it was mangled. I was like in my whole 25 years or something like that in dealing with profile and bikes. That was the first time I had ever seen one packed full of grease, and I was just like, I almost didn't know what to do. Like I was like, just get it out, like now, like
yeah.
That's crazy, dude. Well, you guys, thank you so much, Matt. Thank you again.
Pleasure.
We'll have this, we'll do this a lot. We'll do a live premiere. And I'm sure it's going to generate a lot of questions in the live chat. And I'm sure I will have a ton of questions based off of what we discussed today. Would you be willing to come back and talk and answer any questions that people have after this episode?
Absolutely, man. And I want
Thank
to
you.
thank you for having the conversation in advance, because again, I learned so much from our conversation. So thank you for that too.
Yeah, 100%, you guys. And I got to tell you, the I cannot stress this enough, you guys. Work with your local bike shops. They will make sure like that you are taken care of and you don't end up doing what I almost did and spending too much on things you don't necessarily need just because it's more expensive and it's the latest and greatest. I understand a lot of us build these bikes and they are show off bikes. They are like, it's a dude equivalent to a Louis Vuitton purse. And I absolutely understand why people do that. And I understand that you want to have the most styled bike, but just understand you don't always have to spend top of the line everything, because top of the line for your style of riding is very different than top of the line in your wallet. So let that sink in for a little while. Think about what I just said. Spend the money where you need to, get the performance that you need to. And at the end of the day, we're all doing the same thing. We're all chasing something that gets us stoked on a BMX style bike. No matter the size, no matter where you're doing it, we're all doing the same thing. We're chasing that perfect line, and you will always do it. I was chasing flatland tricks. Now I'm chasing wheelies and manuals, and you guys, you're never going to perfect this. It's like golf. Just enjoy the ride, get the best stuff that you possibly can to get the job done. And Profile is in your corner, ready to help you when you have when you're ready to upgrade to that style of performance and that level of performance. Profile is there with open arms, welcoming you, and they will help you along the way. They will work with your local bike shops to make sure you get the right stuff and the right colors. My friends, talk to your bike shops. So thank you, Matt. Thank you, Shaun.
Pleasure.
Leave comments in the comments below, and we will have Matt and Profile back on again to talk about more in-depth, whatever it is that you want to talk to Profile about. We will be there for you as well. So again, Matt Coplon from Profile, thank you so much for spending time. And you guys, again, give some love to Profile on their Instagram. Go comment on a random picture and say, thank you, Matt, for showing up on the Big Bike BMX podcast, because he's doing this on a Sunday, on his weekend. He's not even getting paid. Matt, thank you so much.
Shaun,
Thank you, Matt.
Shaun, thank you again for doing this. You two are doing this on your free time. And so please thank your wife for me as well. Tell Shelly thank you. And
You're
we
very
will talk
welcome, man.
soon.
Thank you.
You guys, this has been the Big Bike BMX episode for Profile. Thank you to Profile. Thank you to PhoenixBikeCompany and Shaun. Thank you for tuning in. I want to thank all of our show sponsors, and I want to remind you to go have fun on your bike. We will talk to you again soon. Take care.